various ways to save the money. In our earlier video, we already discussed on 5, 50, 30, 20 rule, and savings of 20% of earning is important for the future wealth. To save, very important stuff is we need to start budgeting our expense. So budgeting. So in this, plan your expense for the month before the both start before the month start. So what is your income? So how much you are going to save from it, how much you are going to spend from the income. So these are the things you need to plan it first, and afterwards you need to start tracking your expenses. Next thing you have to do is review your spending at the month end. And so in this review process you have to do check whether you meet your initial budget and need to improve on your budgeting from the next month. So based on your review you need to do what you can able to do it from the next month onwards. Then check any expenses can be avoided in your next month. So these things we can't able to do it without tracking your expense. So in big deal to save your money is not to buy anything on the EMI or on loan. Instead, you can save the amount and then you can go for buying the things. So you will realize how long it will take for you to buy the particular thing, and meanwhile you can also get to know whether it's really worth to buy for so much of months savings. So it's really needed or not, you can have to know about this. So in the habit of saving we go in depth. We should start exploring what is your future expenses and need to classify the things and save for each of those expenses to avoid big surprise or dent in your future savings. So these future expenses can be classified into three categories. So first is the short-term expense, second medium term, and long-term expense. These can be classified as any expense can be done within a year can be classified as a short term. If any expense can be go till 5 years from now, so you can classify that as a medium term expense. Long term expense can be anything which can be expected after 5 years. Say for example anything you are going to buy, you are planning to buy for a mobile or laptop or TV, or you are planning to go for any local trips, which can comes under short term expense. For the medium term expense, something like the planning for marriage, kids schooling, whenever the kids born, so expensive trips which you are planning in your future, then it will all comes under the medium term. So long term expense classifications are something like you are planning for your kids marriage or your kids schooling, colleging, or retirements, or any of the luxury trips like a vacation going in foreign tour, something similar to those things will come under the long term expenses. So these things you have to plan, and you have to start saving for each of those items. So the main part of the expense planning is we need to list all your expenses. Next you need to calculate how much it can cost at current price, and next you need to identify the timeline when you may need to this actual expense. Say for example this particular expense can be 5 years down the line you are going to do, or 1 year down the line you are going to do. So that planning should be done now, and you have to use some calculation for inflation and to identify so how much money you actually require when the actual expense occur. Say for example current time, so if you are buying a thing for 10 rupees and in 1 year down the line, so the same thing can be bought from 15 rupees. So that you have to calculate, and then so based on this only, so you have to identify how many years or months and identify how much you need to save for each expense per month. So 15 rupees you need to spend after 1 year, then you have to divide that 15 rupees in divide by 12, and you have to start saving 1 or 1.2 rupees, something like that. And finally allocate your savings to each of those goals according to your thing. So you may say, I'm not an expert in doing all those calculation, then what can I do now? So it's very tedious process, shall I skip it? So these kind of questions can be arrive in your mind. So to answer to this simple, these questions are simply no. Instead, if you are not able to do all those things, what you can do is you can just identify what are all your expenses, and you can directly go to the step number 6 saying, so you can start saving each of those goals accordingly. Say for example, you have total 10 expense listing and you have 1000 rupees saving. So depends on your short term and long term goals, you can divide those 1000 rupees to each of those expense and you can plan accordingly. So these are the highlights. And if we go for the final one, so before we are closing this video, so I just wanted to take a notes from a summary from the book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Okay, so as per this one, right, so it says more about the wealth creation in simple steps. So this working will be very much needed for the wealth creation in the long term. So the principles are: pay yourself first, then don't spend more than what you need. So these are the principles. So if you see it in the screen, those 5 principles are 5 summary is from The Richest Man Babylon. So if you go through one by one, right, so pay yourself first, something like it, again similar to our earlier formula of 50 30 20. So you need to save 20% of our saving is our first 50 30 20 goal. So here author, what the author is saying is, you have to save 10% of your earning. So whenever you get the salary or income, you do your monthly expenses like paying your rent, paying your maid, paying your mobile bills, paying your subscriptions, and so on. So similarly, you have to pay 10% of your earning to yourself. Okay, you have to make a habit of saving 10% of your saving. You might say, I'm just getting 10,000 earnings, so what I'm going to do, saving of 1,000 bucks. So it doesn't need so how much you are going to save, but in long term it will be a big amount. So you you really don't know so how much you will be earning after say for example 5 years or 10 years down the line. So the compounding effect, it is really a big interesting topic, so that we can discuss in our future videos. So that's a point number 1 of pay yourself first. Next is the don't spend more than what you need. So author says you should not buy just expensive things just because you have a money to afford it for now. So it will just waste your effort of first step of saving 10%. Again you will go back to your initial step. So you will, whatever you saved for say for example 1 year, then you will be wasting that spending to purchase some unnecessary things. So say for example, if you are planning to buy one expensive camera for your next trip, so before buying, just think whether it's going to work for the money you are going to pay, how many times you are going to use that. So really you need to pay that much for the number of times you are going to use that particular camera. So you can check on this particular thing and you can really go for, so if it is not going to really work, then you can go for the less expensive camera. Similarly, if you are going to buy for a mobile phone, then you can think about it, and is it really necessary now, or we can buy a new phone after 1 year down the line. So these things you have to think about it. Okay, next we move on to the point number 3. So make your money to work for you instead of you are working for the money. So in our first 2 steps, we save 10% of our earnings and we keep the 10% saving in our saving account. So what we are going to do with that money, that's a point number 3. So in this one, so we are saving the money and not extra spending. So these things, and with the extra saving we should make a habit of money working for us instead of simply putting that money in a saving bank account as a ideal money. So we should look for the investment avenue, and we need to invest it to get our saving multiply in a way, so it will be like a big compounding amount. So in some saying, even when you are sleeping, some of them are saying, so even you are sleeping, your money should earn for you. So that's a point number 3. So your money should work for you. Then we'll go for the point number 4. Take care of your saving instead of losing. So it's like to start investment, you should not invest the money in high risk, or even you don't know what the investment or the business is going to do. So you should not invest your money in those kind of thing. So if you do a wrong investment, then it's also similar to you are wasting your money. So before investing, understand the investment detail, learn on it, check for the better products and do the investment. So without knowing the investment product, don't go for the investment. Even if you say you don't invest due to risk, then simply I will have that money in our saving account. It is also a bad habit to lose the money, because in inflation you are not going to get the money what you are going to have it now in future. So the last point from the book or the summary, right? Get the advice from the experts instead of getting from unknown person. So we know now, so we need to invest our money somewhere to work our money to gain the money from our money in saving amount. So when you start looking for, and don't look for the random person's advice. So I wanted to invest, say you just go to your friend which he doesn't know about the investment, just ask him, so he will just give you some kind of random advice, but it is not going to worth you. Simply because, very simple example for this, right? To learn a cooking, so you have to go for a cookery class or from the chef, or when you want to become a doctor, you have to go for a medical college and not to the engineering or the arts college. So that's a very simple example from where you have to get your advice. Same should be applied here. To get the investment idea, you should not look the idea from who doesn't have much knowledge on the investment. So when you are planning for the investment, try to learn about the investment product, and what is the risk associated with the product and what is the return. Instead of blaming on others, you become your own master. So whatever the money related things, whatever you are doing, you should be on top of it. I hope this video might give you some sort of the spark on your thinking of money management and it's your saving habit. If you like the content of the video, you can like the video, share it, subscribe it, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell. If you do have any comments regarding the video or improvement, or need to discuss on any specific topic related to the money management or investment related, please do comment below. Thanks for watching the video. Thank you.